Welcome to Serious Software's e-commerce training series. In this video, we will be covering your storefront setup. Once logged into your e-commerce admin panel, it'll default to your storefront setup page. However, if you were looking through any of your other options, you can always click on storefront here on the left-hand toolbar to be redirected. On our storefront main screen, you'll see a few things. So we have our new storefront button. So basically, if you wanted to create a new storefront from scratch, you can click that button and it'll open up your prompts for your new storefront. It'll also show you how many storefronts you have remaining. So in my case, I have an example here of 20 storefront license. I have 3 storefronts created already, so I have 17 left that I can use to make new brands or new storefronts that I'm managing. You also have a search bar here, so if for some reason or at a certain point when things get too long for you, you can filter your search results if you're looking for a specific person. Then along your grid, we have a couple of options. So you have your ID. These are our internal IDs, how we know your storefront in our database. If you have any issues with a particular storefront and you're requesting support on it, it's very handy to give us this ID so that we know which storefront that you are having the issue on, or multiple storefronts if you're having it across multiple storefronts. So when you fill out your support request at ecommerce@serious.com or through your support request here, please provide as much information as possible, either the ID or the storefront address, and then whatever else may be relevant to the support topic. You have your name of your storefront, what brand it's being presented to. So a lot of times the name is kind of shorthand. Brand gives you the ability to link it up to a specific customer or a longer name for the storefront. You have your preview option, which would open the storefront and allow you to see what the customer sees when they go to your web address in there. So as that opens up, you'll see this is my storefront for Serious Software. It's got my products on there and my different interactions that we'll be talking about throughout the series. You have a duplication or a clone button. So if you're setting up a site that's fairly similar to another one, maybe you have a B2B and a B2C concept. So you have internal pricing for the company, but then you have external pricing for their customers. Maybe you want to clone the storefront, the first one that you set up, to set up the second one instead of having to start from scratch. And then we do also have a delete records option. At the moment, we don't support deletions of storefronts. If you're having an issue and you need to clean up or clear out one of your URL licenses, please follow the prompt on the screen to email us at ecommerce@serious.com. Please indicate which storefront you're having the issue with, and we can provide you with the relevant options available to you at that time. There's also a little pencil. If you kind of hover over the lines, you'll see those towards the end. Those are kind of your edit buttons, just showing you that you can open that storefront and look at anything inside that storefront as well. Creating new or editing an existing one really come from the same place, same as duplication. They all bring you to the same screens here, the same tabs. Now we might not focus on every single tab in large detail today, or every option in large detail today. But if you have questions, please join us on our Q&A. You can email us at ecommerce@serious.com, or you can go to the wiki pages for e-commerce and get better definitions for the fields available there. When you open your storefront, it's open to the General tab. And the General tab is going to have your basic information about the storefront. So as we said, you have your store name, which is usually displayed to your customer. It's usually a shorthand name. You'll see it's up here in my tab where the storefront was open as well. I have my brand name, which is usually more so how I know this business or how I organize in this business. Maybe even how you know them in control. That would be a good use for the brand name there as well. As you can see, I'm hovering over these little help menus or text boxes, so they give you a little bit of an extra definition of what we're looking for in those fields. Your store tagline, if you have any marketing material that you want to display on there, usually about a sentence in there. It's not a very long option, but you can put your store tagline there. Probably more so for your business versus like a public site versus a private site. You're usually not going to have a tagline for someone that's for a customer specific storefront, but you might have some branding for your own storefront available. You have your store catalog. Your catalog is going to be all your groupings of your categories and products that are available to this storefront. While you can have multiple catalogs for a storefront, only one can be active at any given time. So you might have 2 or 3 queued up in your catalog setup, which we'll talk about in a later video, but only one can be active at any time, and it is required, so you have to have a storefront in order to be able to access anything to do with that storefront. You can upload a logo, which will appear in the top left-hand side of the storefront. So giving a little extra branding to whoever this is for. There are some image requirements that you'd want to know about. We only support, in this instance, we support JPEG, GIF, and PNG, and we recommend it should be less than 3 megs in size. It will try to resize it for you, but it doesn't always have the best effects in there. So just be conscious of that. If you're seeing it stretch or you're seeing it kind of squished, probably best to go back to our graphic designers and get a better ratio on that image. You have some security settings, and this goes back to our talk about public versus private storefronts. Public storefronts would usually allow for anyone to sign up for it. You can see pricing without having to log in. A private storefront is going to usually be about a specific business that you do work for. It's usually going to require a login, most likely that you've set up ahead of time, and that they have to log in before they can see any pricing for that storefront. And these options combine to help you navigate that. So if you're going to require a user login, you would check this box, which just means that instead of them seeing all the products like I can here on my home screen, they would actually hit this login screen first. So basically they would be forced to log in before they see any pricing, products, anything that you're offering on that storefront for it. Very helpful, especially if you're dealing with competitor brands. If you operate with 2 people who would be considered direct competitors of each other, and you give them different pricing, you don't want them accidentally getting on the other person's site and seeing what you offer to that person. The other option is allow public sign up. Again, for a private brand, you're most likely going to have this unchecked. However, we do have an option here of restrict email domain, so still trying to control who can sign up for a storefront, even though without you having to create every single user in control. That option turns on here, this new customer sign in, so basically they can create their own account. It's going to ask them for their name, email address, and company record. If you do want to be careful with this option, company name is trying to link up to something in control, but it's an exact name match. So if they type in an abbreviation or an extra space or something like that, that control can't figure out that that's the same company inside of your already existing customer list, it will potentially create a duplicate account inside of control. We do have the option here for restrict domain. So basically you can say that people can, I will enable public sign up, but people have to exist within a certain domain. So for example, in this site, I would say they have to be in the serious.com domain, or because we also support serious.net, you might have an additional option there. If we scroll back up to the top, we have some default settings for the storefront. One is, will we be enabling wholesale pricing for this storefront? We'll talk more about wholesale pricing and pricing in general when we talk about product setup. But basically, there are 2 permissions. You have to have the storefront has to have the ability to charge the wholesale price, and the product has to have a wholesale price filled in order for it to display. This goes back to our concept of maybe B2B and B2C storefront. The business to business, you might use wholesale pricing, but the business to customer would use the regular retail pricing. Do you want to enable file uploads? This is also a dual permission. There's the system storefront setting here, and then each product you have to define whether or not the customer can supply uploads for that product. Examples might be if they've already pre-designed maybe their business card, and they just want the ability to upload the file to you via the web. That's what the file upload is for, or instructions or something of that nature. They need to provide you their logo, something of that nature. This is the customer providing you something to finish that product. Then we offer some store contact information. You have sales department information, customer service information, and then administrative information. The sales information is pretty important. That's actually the information that's going to get attached to your order receipts. In the case of the phone number, it's just on your receipt. The customer service phone number will display on the website, but the sales department email will get an email every time an order is placed on the storefront. The sales, whatever email address is in the sales department email, will get a copy of that email. Your customer service email, again, is available on the storefront, so the customer would see it if they're having any issues. That would be who they would reach out to for that option. We also offer some labels here and some custom linkings. So if you want to offer some additional custom options here, you can. So maybe you want to link to a care sheet or a sizing chart or something of that nature. You can link to that additional site. The themes tab is going to give you the options here to basic stylings of your storefront. It's not a full CSS support, but you can pick what font family you want, what size font do you want. You can kind of pick your color palette here. So it's displaying your colors here, but also if you come down to the bottom, you'll see an image of those colors in use. So as you're making those changes, this preview will update and you can see what is going to be available on your storefront. We will talk more about the integration tab at a later date and time. At the moment, I just want to point out this is where we will turn on the storefront for syncing into control. You do have some SEO options. Basically, if this was a public storefront, do you want to enable searching capabilities for the storefront? Display would give you a default product image. You also have a couple of content sections here. So if you want to leave additional notes or instructions for your customers on certain pages, you have a choice of these 5 pages, and it supports HTML context. It would require you to have someone who is familiar with HTML to write this content. Sirius does not provide support for HTML writing in there. Your URL tab would tell you what web link this storefront is attached to. So in case this is my first storefront, so it's serioustraining.store.sirius.com. My next one would be serioustraining.store1.sirius.com, and so on and so forth, depending on how many options I have available to me. You can change that URL if you have your own SSL certificate. You can look at the e-commerce wiki pages for additional information about what type of certificate you may want for your storefront. We offer some additional pages in your footer, so if you want to give like an About Us page or a long terms and conditions page, you can add those to your footer. We can, and then on the checkout tab, we give you the options of what payment methods will you be offering on this storefront, so cash on demand, on account, or credit cards. Credit cards would be, in order to use credit card as a payment, you would have to have your credit card integrated through Control, and you can look in Setup, Accounting Setup, and credit card options to see if you have accounts already activated. In the US, that would be Freedom Pay accounts through Capital Q, and through Canada, that would be Next Gen accounts, also through Freedom Pay as well. You can say whether or not you're going to ask for or allow for the customer to give you additional instructions on the checkout basket. Are you going to require a PO for their order? So basically, are they providing a PO number to you for the order? If you'd like to personalize your terms and conditions, we give you the option here as well. Then if you're supporting credit cards, what credit card types do you support? This should match whatever you have set up with Freedom Pay. So for example, if you're not accepting American Express on your Freedom Pay option, you don't want that checked here as well. And then as far as billing and shipping addresses, what countries do you allow for people to put in for billing and shipping addresses? So if you're allowing billing and shipping in the United States and Canada, you'll want to make sure that both of those have their power buttons turned on. An example, I'm not supporting Australia or United Kingdom billing and shipping on this storefront, so I have those turned off. Our last tab, the JavaScript tab, does have some advanced options like being able to track different pages for your web links, things like that, cart abandonment, Google Analytics, things of that nature. Again, this requires you having someone with the ability to write JavaScript. Serious software doesn't support helping with the writing of JavaScript. That will take us to the end of today's topic of storefront setup. If you have any additional questions, please join us on the e-commerce Q&A session or email us at ecommerce@sirius.com. Have a great day.